This video is sponsored in part by Skillshare. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Mark's Tech and welcome back to part 2 of this video series. So after I made part 1 of this video, I didn't really have the best experience with the Galaxy A51. If you've been following me on Instagram or on Twitter, you would kind of understand why. But after a few days, I was kind of wrong. Not because the phone is the best thing since sliced bread, but because I didn't really understand the phone. See, when I bought the Galaxy A51, I was coming from the OnePlus 8, I was coming from the iPhone 11 Pro Max, I was coming from the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra, so basically flagships. And that wasn't really fair to the Galaxy A51 because it's not pretending or even wanting to be any of those phones that I just mentioned. The phone is basically for people that just want a good battery and a good camera. That's pretty much it, really. After I got the flagship status out of my head, the phone kind of grew on me. So again, welcome to part 2 of this series where I'll be talking about the usability of both phones as well as the battery. And before we get started, guys, a quick word from the sponsor of today's video, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community where millions come together to take the next step in their creative journey. There are thousands of classes from illustration, graphic design, music production, marketing, and more. So who's Skillshare for, you ask? Good question. Skillshare is for all the lifelong learners, the creative people, the beginners, or the masters. In today's time, everyone is staying home, as you should be. So why not take that extra time that you got around the house and learn something new and creative? If you find yourself rearranging the furniture in your house multiple times a day from complete boredom, why not take some classes on interior design? I've been recently watching photography fundamentals with Justin Bridges to help with my amazing photo editing skills. And best of all, the annual plan is less than $10 a month. And because Skillshare is awesome enough to sponsor today's video, the first 1,000 people to click the link in the description will get 2 free months of Skillshare Premium for free. So start exploring your creativity today. See, to make a budget phone be a budget phone, you have to have compromises somewhere, or else it's just going to be a $1,000 phone. It's pretty obvious what Apple's compromises were with the iPhone 8. With the iPhone SE. I kind of did that backwards. The iPhone SE looks like the iPhone 8, so Apple compromised on the style and design of the phone to help save money and to get that price tag to $400, and they more or less focused on the actual performance of the phone. And thanks to that A13 processor, the phone is so much more steady and smooth to use when compared to the Galaxy A51. But usability is a lot more than just opening up the apps, right? Usability is actually using the phone, looking at the screen. And that's where the Galaxy A51 kind of takes the cake. It has a beautiful 6.5-inch AMOLED display. It looks pretty much like any other brand new flagship Samsung phone. The iPhone, on the other hand, has a much more subdued 4.7-inch LCD display, which is still a good panel, but it's nowhere in the league of a 6.5-inch AMOLED display. Watching movies and the viewing experience is good. But audio is also one of the biggest key, components of watching something. And that's where the A51 kind of falls short. See, the A51 only has one speaker. There is no stereo speakers on the A51. In fact, I think even the A71 only has one speaker. So whenever you're watching a movie, for example, if you're watching a movie in landscape, this is the bottom of the phone, obviously. This ear is getting most of the action, okay, because the sound is coming from here, and this ear is getting most of the action. This ear is getting nothing, okay? So watching movies, listening to music, you're not really going to have the best experience. If Samsung put stereo speakers into this phone, I would definitely recommend this phone as a media device. Meanwhile, over at the iPhone SE, this does have stereo speakers. So if you're watching a movie, it is on a smaller display, obviously, but if you're watching a movie, you get the full immersion of the sound. And some people might argue that sound is actually better, or at least more important than viewing experience.
In a town as old as Pawnee, there's a lot of history in every acre. This wooded area is the... In a town as old as Pawnee, there's a lot of history in every acre. This wooded area is the...
Games are mind-blowingly smoother than on the A51. Again, that's to be honest, the A51 isn't meant to be a gaming phone, but I mean, I can't even play Call of Duty Mobile on the A51 without it randomly lagging like bad. So if you're a gamer, or if you like to play some games sometimes, you might not care about that, but that just goes to show how really underpowered the A51 is. Now, if you are a social media person, you love to use your phone with social media, which, let's be honest, a lot of people do. Here's a quick example on why the iPhone is still the king of social media. Take a look at the Instagram story quality between the iPhone SE and the Samsung Galaxy A51. It is really just insane how big the difference is. So this is the video quality and audio quality of the Galaxy A51 on Instagram. It's pretty bad. It's like if I move my head too quick, all detail will be lost. As a comparison, this is the iPhone SE. Clearly way better. Look, man, all I'm saying is that I think a piece of burnt toast would record a better video on Instagram than the A51. So let's talk about RAM management on both of these phones, as that has a lot to do with usability. So the A51 has 4 gigs of RAM and the iPhone SE has 3 gigabytes of RAM. And using the Samsung Galaxy, you can definitely tell a difference that it has not enough RAM. Once you open about 4 or 5 apps, depending on what they are, if you go back to the first app that you opened, it's going to have to keep reloading and reloading. And you just definitely feel a like a massive difference in usability when using the Samsung Galaxy A51. Now, the iPhone isn't perfect either. 3 gigs on the iPhone, you can also tell a difference, but thanks to that A13 chip, if an application has to reopen, it reopens like that was the worst snap ever. It reopens incredibly quick, way quicker than the A51. So yes, this also has to reload apps, but on the plus side, it reopens them almost within a blink of an eye. But the iPhone's A13 chip is actually what cripples it. See, if you're doing things such as web browsing, going on Netflix, maybe watching some videos on YouTube, texting back and forth, the battery is going to be okay. You're going to get about 4.5 to 5 hours of battery life. If you're lucky, you'll get 5 hours, but more or less 4.5 on the iPhone SE. And that's if you're taking it lightly. Okay, see, the A13 chip is super efficient when you're not pushing it to its limits. Okay, so if you play a lot of games, if you do a lot of heavy tasks such as video edit, well, I highly doubt anyone's going to video edit on a 4.7 inch screen, but whatever, let's include that. If you're video editing, if you're recording 4K 60 video, taking a bunch of photos, this phone, well, first of all, the A13 chip is going to be much quicker. It's going to boost its clock speed. Therefore, the battery is going to go down quick. I mean, we're talking about like closer to 4 hours instead of 4.5 hours. And, you know, 4 hours of battery life on a phone that came out in 2020, you know, that's... Why do you think I have a battery case on here? Okay, by the way, the iPhone 8 or iPhone 7 battery case fits the brand new iPhone SE 2020 perfectly. So if you need a battery case and you need it to be an Apple one, you know where to go. The A51 battery, on the other hand, is amazing because it doesn't really have a powerful chipset. So even if you are pushing the phone to its limits, it's not really going to waste that much more battery, honestly. The A51 lasts me about 6.5 hours, almost 7 hours of battery life, which is pretty damn good. If they just focused a little bit more on speed, a little bit, and if they added stereo speakers, this phone would have been amazing. But watching movies like this and only getting half of the action with your ear, that's just, no. Listen, man, the A51 isn't going to win any awards. It's not even going to get nominated. In fact, it's probably not even going to get into the club. But, you know, listen, man, for $280 or whatever it costs, I've heard people say like different numbers, so I don't know what it even costs anymore. it's not bad for that price, okay? Because what do you really want from a phone that is so cheap? You know, you kind of have to have compromises somewhere, but unfortunately there's just too many compromises on here. I mean, Jesus, if you use Snapchat a lot, I don't really use Snapchat that much, like only a few people, but this doesn't even do Snapchat filters. Like, you know that filter where it turns you into a chick? You can't even do that on here. You can only take a picture and then it posts the girl face on you. There, you can't have video, which is like strange. Like, that's the first phone I've ever had that a freaking filter doesn't work. So there's too many compromises in this phone. But I think for the price, if you just need a phone, right? If you just need a phone, you just want great battery, right? And not really worried about anything else. You're not worried about dropping this or scratching this because it's so cheap. Then this is a good phone. But I wouldn't really recommend it if you are a gamer, or if you watch a lot of videos, a lot of YouTube, a lot of Netflix. Yeah, I wouldn't really recommend it. Thanks for watching, guys. If you made it this far, my next video will be about the camera, so that will be in part 3. And as you guys know, this has the wide and the ultra wide, and the iPhone only has a single wide camera. So this will be a pretty interesting comparison. The iPhone is either gonna blow us away from the quality, or the Samsung is gonna win by having the most versatility. So I guess we'll find out. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to leave them down below. This was Mark from Mark's Tech. Adios.